Emily Carter thought the Williams family was her saving grace. But Margaret, Thomas, Lily, and Ben Williams weren't just the kind neighbors she moved in with, they were the nightmare she never saw coming. While Emily slept, they watched. While she trusted, they planned. And by the time Emily discovered what they were hiding, it was almost too late to escape the family, who turned her life into their secret project. Emily Carter had always wanted a fresh start, and when she found the yellow house on Willow Lane, it felt like the universe was finally being kind to her. She had spent years moving from place to place, never finding anywhere that felt safe or warm, never having a family to fall back on. The Williams family changed that the moment they opened the door and invited her in with gentle smiles and a promise of low rent. It was just a room, a small one at the back of the house, but it came with shared meals and the comforting illusion of belonging. She liked how the father always waved when he left for work early in the morning, and how the mother would knock lightly on her door to let her know dinner was ready, her voice soft, asking her to join them. Emily felt seen for the first time in years, and she believed that maybe her life was finally taking a turn for the better. The teenage daughter would sometimes leave baked cookies outside Emily's door, and the teenage son would carry her groceries inside if he saw her struggling. They made jokes about how she was family now, and Emily would smile, laughing along, holding on to that word, family. It was something she had longed for since she was a child, something she never truly had. And now in this warm, creaky house, with yellow paint peeling and soft curls from the porch railings, she let herself believe she was part of something that could last. She would hear them talking and laughing in the living room while she lay in bed at night, the sound drifting under her door, comforting her like a lullaby. She had no reason to think there was anything hidden beneath those soft voices, those warm dinners, those kind gestures. She began to leave her door unlocked at night because it felt unnecessary to keep it shut in a house filled with people she trusted. The mother sometimes left folded towels on her bed while she was out, and once, Emily returned home to find her laundry washed and folded neatly on her chair. She thought it was the kindest thing anyone had done for her in years. She did not notice the way the father's eyes watched her a little too closely when she walked through the kitchen, or how the teenage son seemed to know when she left the house and when she came back, or how the mother seemed to appear every time Emily opened the fridge, reminding her to eat, reminding her to smile. Emily only saw what she wanted to see, a family who made her feel safe, a family who made her believe she had finally found a place to belong, never suspecting that the walls of the yellow house were quietly learning every detail about her life. It was small things at first, small enough for Emily to dismiss them with a tired laugh as she moved through her day. A tube of lipstick missing from her purse, a hair tie she could have sworn she left on the bathroom counter nowhere to be found, a pair of socks that simply vanished. She told herself it was nothing, that she was forgetful, that these things happened in shared living spaces. It was easier to believe she was the problem than to consider any other explanation. She began noticing the way the floor creaked outside her door at night, slow steps that stopped when she held her breath to listen. She would wait for the footsteps to continue, for someone to knock on her door, but the hallway would remain silent, except for the old wood shifting, making it easy to tell herself it was just the house. One evening, as she stepped out of the shower, a cold draft passed over her skin, and she saw that the window was open a crack, though she was sure she had closed it. The window lock was dusty, untouched, but the window still moved softly in the breeze as she stood frozen, a towel pressed tightly around her. Later that week, she noticed her bedroom door slightly open when she returned home, even though she remembered locking it. Her notebooks, the ones she wrote her thoughts in before bed, had shifted from where she had left them, pages bent, a pen moved to the wrong place. She tried to believe it was the mother cleaning, trying to help, But something in the way the pages were turned, in the way her private notes were left open, made her feel exposed, as if someone had been reading them when she was gone. Emily's dreams began to twist into restless nightmares, and she would wake to shadows in the corners of her room, shadows that vanished the moment she fully opened her eyes. She began hearing faint sounds in the walls, like scratching or soft thuds, noises that stopped as soon as she focused on them. She started to feel watched, an unseen pressure in the room when she was dressing, a feeling that made her heart race. When she brushed her hair in the mirror, she began to dread going to sleep, afraid she would wake to find someone standing over her. The warm laughter that once comforted her at night now sounded different, like quiet conversations she was not meant to hear, words muffled but spoken too close to her door. She started to wonder if she had made a mistake coming here, if the comfort she felt was nothing more than a mask hiding something that was waiting for her to stop paying attention. Emily wanted to believe she was safe, but a small, persistent fear had begun to settle in her bones, whispering that something was wrong, even if she could not yet prove it. The locked door at the end of the hallway had always seemed harmless to Emily when she first moved in. The family said it was just a storage room, a place where they kept old boxes and broken furniture they hadn't gotten around to throwing out. It made sense to her. Every old house had a room like that. She never questioned it. But after the missing items, the open window, and the footsteps at night, her mind began to circle back to that door more and more. Every time she walked past it, she felt an itch under her skin, like the door was looking back at her, holding something she was meant to find. She told herself she was being dramatic, that it was just her imagination twisting shadows into monsters. Still, she caught herself slowing down whenever she passed by, tilting her head to listen, half expecting to hear a whisper from the other side. One evening, when the family went out for dinner without inviting her, something they had never done before, Emily found herself alone in the house for the first time. She sat on her bed, staring at her bedroom door, then down the hallway to that locked door that now seemed to pulse with a quiet threat. The key was always on the mother's ring, dangling from her apron pocket, but tonight, the door was different. As she walked past it on shaky feet, she saw it wasn't fully shut. A slim line of light cut across the dark hallway floor, as if the room itself was waiting for her to come closer. Her pulse drummed in her ears as she pushed the door open with a trembling hand. Inside, the air was cold and stale, carrying the sharp smell of dust and something sour she couldn't place. The walls were covered in photographs, not just a few, but hundreds, each one pinned carefully in rows, overlapping like scales. Every photo was of her. Some were from the day she moved in, smiling awkwardly, with her boxes stacked behind her. Others were of her asleep, twisted under her blankets, mouth slightly open. There were photos of her brushing her teeth, eating cereal, folding her laundry. Each one had a note scribbled under at times. Dates, what she was wearing, what she was doing. She saw her own handwriting copied on some of the pages, lines from her private notebooks. A box sat on a low shelf. Inside it a clump of her hair, receipts she thought she'd thrown away, even a single earring she lost weeks ago. Emily felt her knees weaken as she stepped backward, the door creaking louder than it should have, like a scream. In that moment, the warmth of the house fell away, replaced by a single, sick truth. She could no longer pretend not to see. The Williams family hadn't just welcomed her in. They had been studying her, piece by piece, waiting for something she couldn't yet understand. Emily wanted to leave the moment she stepped out of that room, but every path to freedom seemed to close in on her like a tightening rope. She tried to act normal, slipping back into her room, pressing her back to the door as she struggled to catch her breath. She planned to leave the next morning, but when she reached for her purse, her car keys were gone. She searched every pocket, every drawer, the pockets of every jacket, but they were nowhere to be found. She checked her phone to call a friend, but the screen was cracked, lines of dead pixels flickering until it turned black. She plugged it in, hoping it was just the battery, but it refused to charge. She sat on her bed, gripping the useless phone, feeling the house around her, alive and waiting. The family acted as if nothing had changed. The mother called her for breakfast the next morning with her usual gentle voice, a plate of eggs waiting on the table. The father read the newspaper, glancing over the edge of the pages to watch her. The children giggled, passing notes across the table, their eyes darting to her with strange, knowing smiles. Emily forced herself to eat, chewing slowly, her mind racing with thoughts of running, of jumping from the window, of screaming for help. But every time she looked at the mother, who smiled back at her, Emily saw the reflection of herself in those kind eyes, and it made her feel small, powerless. At night, she began to hear them again, footsteps outside her door, whispers that stopped when she pressed her ear against the wood. Once, she heard the soft sound of a key turning in the lock, and the handle moved, but the door never opened. She realized then that she was being locked in at night, the door clicking quietly after the footsteps retreated. When she tried the handle in the dark, it didn't move. In the morning, it would open as if nothing had happened, the mother knocking softly to tell her breakfast was ready. Emily tried the front door when no one was looking, but it wouldn't budge, the deadbolt stiff, the keys gone. She tried the windows, but they were nailed shut, layers of paint holding them in place like a seal. She realized with a slow, creeping horror that she was trapped, every movement she made monitored, every choice already anticipated. They took her food from the fridge when she wasn't looking, forcing her to ask for meals, and sometimes the mother would smile and say, "You must have forgotten to buy more," before sliding a single plate in front of her. The family had turned her fear into a quiet game, watching her grow weaker, waiting, all while the house held her with its false warmth, as if it were part of their plan to see how long she would last before she broke. It was raining the morning the police came, the steady patter against the windows, the only sound in the quiet house. Emily sat on the floor of her room, too tired to stand, her head resting against the wall as she stared at the door. She hadn't eaten in 2 days, the family telling her the fridge was empty, that they would get groceries soon, but they never did. She had tried to scream once, pounding on the door until her hands were bruised, but the only response was the mother's soft voice telling her to calm down, that she was scaring the children. She had stopped trying after that, letting the silence wrap around her as she drifted in and out of sleep, her body weak, her mind floating. When she heard the knock at the front door, she thought it was her mind playing tricks again. She closed her eyes, letting the darkness pull her deeper. But then she heard voices, firm and unfamiliar, moving through the house. The footsteps were heavy, different from the quiet creaks she had learned to fear. Then the handle of her door turned, and the door opened, light flooding the room, forcing her to squint. A police officer stood there, speaking words she couldn't understand at first, her mind slow to catch up as he stepped forward, calling her name. They found her curled on the floor, barely able to move, and carried her out of the house. As she was taken down the hallway, she saw the family sitting in the kitchen, the mother's hands folded neatly on the table, the father staring at the floor, the children watching with blank faces. They didn't speak, didn't move, as Emily was carried past them, out into the rain, the cold air biting against her skin, reminding her she was still alive. The police searched the house and found everything she had seen in the locked room, and more. In the basement, hidden under loose floorboards, they found boxes filled with IDs, clothing, and small personal items from other women who had lived there before her, women who had simply disappeared. Neighbors who had always waved at the Williams family from their lawn stood in shock as officers carried out evidence. whispering about how they had seemed so normal, so kind. Emily was taken to the hospital, her body thin and frail, her eyes empty. As she stared at the ceiling, trying to understand how the family she trusted had planned every moment of her fear, she realized that they had never wanted her to leave, that everything they did was to break her down, piece by piece, until she was nothing but another secret the yellow house would hold forever. If she hadn't been found in time,